And really, a picture paints 1,000 words, so it is worth a wait here. But we're having technical issues with the Zoom meeting.
Bob, can I raise my issue whilst Carl is here?
Well, nobody can hear you on. Well, they can hear you, but we can't hear them.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter if I raise this issue.
Well, I guess it'll take a little bit of time up.
Can I borrow the mic, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Save time later. Oh, is it on?
Oh. Tanya says that
How do I turn it
everyone
on? Is it on?
I'm not sure, it might be a slide up.
Let's press the button and then...
Okay, is that on?
No.
Is that on?
Yes.
Hello, Janet Davey, Portishead Town Council. I was approached by a resident 2 weeks ago and she was very upset. The background is that she lives close to the Albion, diagonally opposite St Joseph's School. Last year, a bus stop sign was attached to a pole right outside her house. I'm sure you will recall this, Carl. She and her neighbour both protested as a double-decker bus top deck is at the same level as the bedroom windows. Concern about this was raised at the time in a bus meeting, both by Bob Bull and I think by myself. North Somerset Council and the bus company both promised that they would sort this out and rectify it and move the sign to a better place. Clearly this has not happened, despite the reassurances given to these residents. Because when the lady I spoke to was changing in her bedroom 2 weeks ago, she looked out and saw a person looking in at her and watching her change. They were only 4 feet away. The bus was stationary for some time and this lady was deeply upset and very embarrassed. This could also have been a problem for the neighbouring house. I really can't believe this. I'm one of those people who believes it when I am told that something will be done about an unacceptable issue and that it will be resolved. Yet again, I and the resident feel let down by North Somerset Council and the bus company. My feelings veer between disappointment and all-out anger. This is not acceptable and I want this resolved forthwith. It's frankly disgraceful that this was not a priority. As you all knew the possible consequences of your lack of action, you clearly did not care that this could happen to this poor lady, even though you were told. Please tell me who's responsible for this so I can escalate it and take further action, unless of course you resolve this in the next few days. Thank you.
Can't she draw her curtains?
Yeah.
Why should she have to?
In response to that, yes, we did look into the matter as raised. We reviewed the highways and it is still the safest, most appropriate place to place that bus stop. It's a council-owned highway and we do have a right to put a bus stop where it's appropriate to do so. It is unfortunate that the lady's house backs onto the pavement. We are prepared to try and look at it again, but when we did look at it last year, that is the only and most suitable place to put that stop. The highway belongs to us all, but we have to manage it, and a request was given by the bus company to put a stop in that area, which is what we did. So I'm sympathetic to what's been said, but ultimately that is not a unique situation across the district. That is the consequence, I guess, of living right next to the pavement. The bus company has the right to use the highway. Unfortunately, I have no other answer at this time. However, I would encourage the lady to submit the complaint formally via the council website, and then it can be escalated as appropriate.
You should have a link now.
Bob, could I just reply to that? Appreciate your report on that, Carl, but obviously you're aware that the next bus stop is just a few hundred yards away.
We were asked to put the bus stop there so that students could cross safely.
So to me it seems a bit silly if there's another bus stop just a couple of hundred yards away, that there needs to be a bus stop there. That's just my point of view. Thank you.
The buses turn right there to the west.
If this would only help, the guy, there's two houses that it affects. One of the guys was quite happy to put a mast up in his own garden so that it wouldn't be parking outside, so I don't know whether that would help.
I'm open to any useful
Yeah.
suggestions, but at the moment, that is a normal process that was went through. I
Yeah,
understand the
it's good, that.
consequences,
Yeah.
but I must ask that the resident submits a formal complaint on our website through the proper channels, and then we can give a resolution, and if necessary, it can be escalated all the way up to the ombudsman if you wish.
I think I'm going to get all my steps in tonight.
I don't think she's going to bother because she raised it at the meeting. She was told it would be dealt with, and I thought, I and she thought that was enough, but clearly it's not.
Can we raise it on her behalf?
If someone gives me the contact details, I'm quite happy to have a discussion, but it does need to be logged as a complaint.
Microphone.
Sorry. As I've stated, I'm quite happy to investigate it again. I'd just like it logged as a formal complaint so we can follow due process, because if she's not happy with the response, then there's an escalation process that goes with it.
Stopping us putting the complaint in, is there? Yeah. I think if necessary, we'll put the complaint in somehow or another, even if we have to go around and talk to her. So you should be able to share the screen now to do the slides.
Won't let me log into Zoom.
Could just go.
I think Samantha's going to.
Samantha, can you see if we can hear you? Could you say something?
I might be nearly there. 6:70.
Yeah, we just can't hear her through the speakers, I think. That means she is speaking, yeah. We can't hear her. Yeah, it's the speakers.
This is my last bus meeting as a councillor. Why did it have to be now?
Right, I have logged in.
Oh.
Right, we're getting somewhere now.
Could you play Samantha through your speakers? I know they won't be very loud.
Oh, we had to do that in Somerset Hall. That was for a bus meeting, wasn't it? Where I was holding the mic next to a PC so that people could hear. Unbelievable. You can put a man on the moon, but you can't get sound.
So the irony is, through my laptop, we can hear the participants now.
Yeah.
Well, I've got the slides, but yeah, I don't know if they need them.
Hi Samantha, if you want to share them, that's fine. I don't think you can.
I might text Carl actually.
I can hear you, Samantha.
But I can't.
Right, this is.
I text him. I think you said you're on a phone. I'm on a. Yeah, I can get it.
Right, well, we've got something on the screen. Who's going to talk to them?
People online, I'm trying to message the guys in the room and tell them that you're talking and we can all hear you, and it's just them that can't hear you.
Well,
So it's their end that's the
you can now be heard through my laptop.
Okay.
Hi guys.
Bizarre.
We don't want to hear it through the laptop as well because we've got.
Yeah, okay. Hi guys, can you all hear me? Yeah, cool. So I'm Dan from WeDRT. We're the contractor who will be running the new DRT service on behalf of North Somerset Council and the West of England Combined Authority. So yeah, I'll just go from the top. DRT stands for Demand Responsive Transport. It's not very new. They've had ring and ride schemes for ages, but this is more of a digital version. So we've got a call centre where you can book in, but we've also got an app. So yeah, DRT typically is no fixed route, no fixed timetable. Passengers book either through a call centre or via an app, like an Uber style app, and the bus picks up the routes, creates the routes in real time, pulls together different trips, and the bus comes to you. So it will be a mixture of virtual and actual bus stops. So you'll book via the app, you'll get told where to walk to within, I think, 500 metres of wherever you are. You go to that stop, and then the minibus, they're all 16-seater minibuses, that comes to you. And it might have other people on different trips all pooled into one.
I'll just clarify one thing.
Yeah.
When we say route, there are no routes. The bus is effectively registered to go anywhere to anywhere in an operating zone. So those are the operating zones. And there are a certain amount of vehicles in each zone. You book a journey anywhere in that zone from point A to point B, and it will take you there. Either by a time you need to be there, or a time you want to leave. That's basically the premise. So if you want to go from Keynsham to Portishead High Street, you can, because it's in that zone, and it will cost you a £2 trip, or it will be free on your concession pass. That's the basic premise. So there is no actual timetabled route anymore. This thing will take you from A to B as long as it's in the zone. Otherwise, you'll have to share. You have to go to another zone and book another trip, sort of thing. But I'll hand back to the experts.
Yeah, so those are the zones. We've got a north, a south, and then we've got one in the middle there in red. You can't go between zones, is the one thing to remember there. So you can go to anywhere within those zones, those coloured zones there.
You can interchange though, so you can get to the edge of a zone and book a new journey in a new zone. But the zone is massive, as you can see, for the southern area.
I can't quite tell where it is from back here.
I'm happy to people to come and have a look at the map in a minute when we finish going through it.
Okay. So yeah, those are the zones. So yeah, how will it operate? So it is app-based. You'll be able to download an app from the Google Play Store or the App Store on your phone or your iPad or anything like that, and you could create a booking just like booking an Uber. But if you don't want to do it via an app, you can do it through the call centre. So we're running a call centre, our company, so you'll be able to call us up, you can talk about creating an account, creating a new booking. If there's any lost property issues, you'll be calling the call centre, and general inquiries about existing bookings. So if you don't want to use the app, you can still use the Westlink service.
What about coming back?
So you can book your return.
That's return, right, okay.
Yes, so you can also book your return, and in advance. You can book up to 7 days in advance. So you can also have reoccurring bookings. So if you want, every Tuesday you want to go from A to B, you can have that as a setting on your account to book it reoccurringly.
So the maximum time you should expect to wait to be picked up, the service level if you like, is 60 minutes. There's thought it will be less than that to wait for your vehicle to turn up. We're sort of projecting maybe around 45 minutes max wait, but at the moment we've contracted 60 minutes. Okay, so from booking to waiting for the vehicle to turn up, maximum 60 minutes. The general premise is that it can deviate from the route to pick other people up by a certain amount. So literally wouldn't deviate for 3 hours and wander around, because what it does is it looks for other people en route and puts them in the vehicle with you effectively. But it's important to realise there's two ways of booking. As I said, one way of booking is to get there by a certain time, and another way of booking is to leave at a certain time. So just bear that in mind. The vehicles will be smaller vehicles. They'll be effectively sort of 16-seat buses. They'll have all the destination kit on. They'll be modern, comfortable vehicles. So that means they can go places traditional buses couldn't. And there's quite a few of those areas. And acutely in this area, we obviously know about Walton Bay. This is one of the reasons we wanted this in this area. You asked me to get a bus that could be more flexible, go to places where buses couldn't. This is it.
Just on the topic of waiting, so you'll receive a text message 15 minutes before your bus arrives, telling you that your bus is going to arrive in 15 minutes. So you can wait inside your house, wait for the text, and then go out when the bus is arriving in that window.
And will you go to a bus stop near where you live?
Yes, yeah. So you'll when you book it, or when you book it on the phone, you'll be informed, or through the app, you'll know exactly which bus stop you need to go to.
to
Should you use your phone, you'll get effectively an alert to say the vehicle is, say, 5 minutes away, start walking. It knows roughly how long the walk is. It'll say, we advise you leave now to get your bus to the nearest stop to wherever you booked it.
Yeah, and what's cool as well is you can literally see where the bus is when it's almost there, so you can track it just like tracking an Uber if you've ever booked an Uber. I think we've got a question here.
Yes.
I'll give you the mic.
Clarify something for me. Okay. Which is the magic bus? It's on. Okay, everybody hear me? Okay. When you were describing the zones on the map, you'll have to forgive my eyesight, it's not that wonderful, and I can't tell. You said that crossing zones was not possible with your system. Can you confirm that that is the correct understanding? And secondly, can you confirm whether Portishead is in the same zone as Cribbs Causeway, Bristol City Centre and South Mead Hospital?
I can give you an answer, I'll leave the mic though. Thank you. So, what you would have to do is go to an interchange point and change onto another zone. So it would be another fare unless you are concessionary pass holder, then it makes no difference. You can just book another free trip and carry on to another zone. There is some crossover, which is Portishead. And the reason we've done it's not massive on the screen, I apologise, but there is a zone here that is shared. That enables you to go to Avonmouth Park and Ride and the High Street and get on one of the buses to Cribbs or to the hospital, one of the regular buses. But it will not go directly, our zone will not go directly to Bristol or to Cribbs. You'll have to change.
So it's going to be pretty inconvenient for somebody who's not well.
This is not the ideal solution, but it is designed to get you to a bus so you can change to a regular bus and fairly efficiently.
So just, if people can't see, this is Portishead.
Yes.
Okay, and you've got Weston in.
Yes.
And then you've got the Chew Valley.
Yes.
And as you say, you can get over as far as Freshford, should anybody want to go there. Outskirts of Bath. But you can't go that way without changing zones.
No, you will need to change at this time the scheme is set up that you would need to change. We are looking to introduce a capped daily fare, which has not been possible for launch. So, in theory, you could go between any of the zones and you would only pay a maximum of, I think it'd be about £7 a day. You say it's inconvenient though, but in theory you could book the journey and the vehicle should be there waiting for you because you've booked it.
Sorry, can I just ask a question? Oh, are you asking first? Go on.
Yeah, can we just confirm how many buses are allocated in our zone?
Yes.
Good question.
Yeah, 16.
16.
At launch, there is intended to be 16 vehicles in our zone alone, 30 across the whole region. That's been modelled as being more than appropriate for the demand, but it is new, so it's plausible if everyone crazy and books it all from day dot, it might be oversubscribed, but there's a lot of experience sat here where schemes are run across the country and it's been well resourced from the start.
Because we can't really see the map very well, is Portishead, Walton Bay and Clevedon in the same zone?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So you've got Avonmouth.
Yeah.
And then all the way down here. Walton, Clevedon, Yatton, Coventry.
Well,
Weston.
you can go to Whirl, Western Centre, right down to the Somerset border, if you wish. Sorry. It's a huge zone. This is, I think it's about 50 square miles, is it? Something. So there are. It's not designed to cover everywhere, and there's a reason it's not designed to cover everywhere, because there are regular fast bus services on some of the main corridors, so we wouldn't wish to replicate that. But you can book your journeys to meet a scheduled bus. That's one of the primary purposes of it.
Sorry, I know there's a lot of questions to ask, Carl, and obviously there's probably more after this meeting. With the zone areas, what's the time allocated for the first part of that zone? Because obviously if you have several buses heading that way, that reduces the amount of buses that you have for other areas.
It's demand led, so it'll go there.
The vehicles are demand led, so we don't pin them down particularly, they go where they're needed. So if you book, it should turn up within the contracted time. So that's the way you have to think about it.
Yeah, but I'm saying if your
You need
furthest
a
point
phone.
is
You need
an
Sure,
hour
doesn't matter.
away,
Doesn't
and you've
matter.
got several going that way.
What it will do is it will merge similar journeys and allow us a maximum deviation time. I think the maximum deviation is 30 minutes on a journey.
It's a percentage of your trip
Yeah.
duration.
So it tries to be amicable by how much you're diverted en route. In reality, it doesn't often divert in other areas and schemes across the country, does it?
Yeah, just to sort of nail that point home, if there is demand in an area and you book it, the bus will arrive. So there's no set time that it's going to be in Weston-super-Mare, but if someone books Weston-super-Mare and it's confirmed, the bus will be there to pick you up.
And the way that the technology works behind the scenes, if someone in Western books and then does a request for 8:15 and then someone does a request for 8:20, it will probably tell them both, okay, about 8:17 the bus will be there. So it won't just pick them up on the exact minute and then go. It will pull together the demand. So when you book, it says a window of time that the bus will be there. So it'll say, okay, you requested for 8:15, it's going to be there between 8:15 and 8:22. And then 30 minutes before the trip, it will then tell you the exact minute, or 15 minutes before the trip.
Without getting too technical, I assume it's software driven.
Yeah.
And uses GPS as to where the buses are.
Yeah.
There are some places where GPS doesn't actually work in funny little holes and things. How do you deal with that?
Don't work.
Yeah, it's got, yeah. I believe it's got some maps preloaded, so if the driver runs out of signal for say a minute, it will already have everywhere near the driver preloaded, like a buffer on a video. So yeah.
Do you want to carry on going through the apps, or what do you want to do?
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a bit worried I've loaded the wrong slides, but it's fine. I may have loaded the wrong slide deck, but don't worry, it's all good.
Yeah, talk about launch maybe.
Yes. So how much will it cost? At the moment it's aligned with bus fares. So there is a current scheme, a national scheme to limit bus fares to £2. So at this point it's £2 a journey. We intend to align it with regular bus fare costs. So, and also it will always accept concessionary travel. We're mandated by the DfT while we're funded from them to do so. So for 2 years at least, it will be free if you have a concessionary pass. Children will be £1 each way, adults are £2 each way. I mean, that may well have to adjust in future years, but that's where it is now.
Carl, it's obviously with people with bus passes.
Yes.
Are they be able to register their bus pass on the app?
So when you register on the app, it asks if you want to set up a payment. You can skip that, and then you can state concessionary fare, and the driver will check your pass, and that's basically how it works. So you don't have to put in payment details to use this if you have a concessionary pass.
So obviously you still have to have your bus pass.
Absolutely.
There's no way you can register that bus pass.
One of the developments I've asked for, but isn't currently available, is to be able to register your bus pass, so you wouldn't have to.
Have that.
But in theory, you would have to produce it to prove who you are. So you do need to carry your bus pass. Anyone got any questions on how it will operate? Has everyone got the concept?
Can I just ask one question?
Okay.
Press the button.
It's okay, Tom.
So if we've got an appointment in Western Hospital, for
Yes.
example,
Yep.
we would use the option that says I want to be there
Fine.
at a specific time,
Yes.
rather than I want to leave my home.
Yes.
at this, and it will get us there
Yes.
in time for the appointment.
Yes.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
It sounds wonderful if it works.
You couldn't be late, would you?
Yeah, probably, I don't mind that. Once you're there.
Oh, no. I've read the slides, I don't need to ask the question.
Okay.
Okay, then.
You want to ask a question, dear?
Yes.
No, you're all right. Go on.
One of the things which is worrying us slightly, I'm representing a group called All Aboard the 56 bus, Carl knows as well, but you would be able to tell me, is that we're worried that some people might have difficulties on the app, or if they aren't very astute on phones. And I was just wondering, have you seen that as a problem in other areas, and is there a way of getting around it?
Yeah, so we face the same challenge in West Midlands, where we also have a service up there. So we provide, as part of our business, a call centre where anyone who either can't use an app due to any disabilities or doesn't get on with technology can call in, book the exact same process, and you'll be given a time exactly the same as you would through the app. So even if you don't have a smartphone, you can still use the service.
Brilliant. So you haven't found that caused any problems for people?
That's worked on.
Thank you.
When does it actually start?
3rd of April.
Okay, you doing any trot runs before?
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a question.
Yes.
One of the things that I would suggest we do, the council runs something called Tea and Tech, which is basically you get a free cup of tea and we try and teach you how to use tech. I think we could run a couple of sessions here going through the app, but we'd have to time it when it's available.
If I could just step in there, so that's, you hit the nail on the head with that. So one of the things that, hi everybody, I'm Steve Hogg, I'm the exec member for Highways and Transport in North Somerset. If you don't know my face, I'm not that new, I've been here about a year now doing this role, but one of the things I'm really keen to do is that once we've got DRT established and it's up and running, is to engage with local residents and create a new sort of ambassadorial role. So what we're looking for are people that are, fairly passionate about buses. There are people I know that are sitting here this evening who would be perfect, and I'll be hassling them about this in due course, but actually to build a kind of working group of people that can act as a source of help for local residents, but also can feed back into me and into the teams in North Somerset to let us know how the service is working so that we can help to shape it going forward. But that's something I'm really keen to see. And Bob, you and I can talk about the tech day. That's a really brilliant idea. It's exactly the sort of thing that I think we should be doing to make sure that this becomes a success.
And will you get that group together sooner rather than later?
Yes, we will definitely. It's all got to happen sooner rather than later. Yeah. I'm conscious that we're already in March and we're talking about
Because that
something.
was one of the questions I was going to ask. Are you going to have a sort of an update every so often to see how things are going?
There's a big timetable of activity that's being drawn up at the moment. So I mean, it's such a huge programme for North Somerset. Obviously, this sort of eclipses anything that we've done in public transport historically. And so it's taken time to get the resources together and the team together, but we've recruited new people into the transport team, and we're building a timetable of activity and meetings and engagement activities over the next few weeks. So you'll be seeing a lot more of us over the coming weeks. Yeah.
Great, okay.
Just to give you an idea, a scheme of this nature, I think it's possibly the biggest one in the UK to date. This DRT scheme. And usually you would probably start planning this a year in advance. We are doing this on a 3-month timescale. So the reason we're able to do that is because we've had some advanced work in a small zone in Bristol and we've expanded it massively. So I can't promise this will be perfect day one, but I tell you what, everyone is pushing to make this perfect as possible. But to give you an idea, we've secured 30 vehicles in a month. We are securing somewhere in the region of 50 to 70 drivers to deliver this scheme. So this is a huge step change in how people can access a form of public transport. And it really is as simple as book it and it will take you where you want to go, not change 4 buses, not wait at the roadside. You can see this thing coming on an app, you will know it's on its way and it's cheap.
Would the app be available prior to that day?
Yes, the app will be launched. The app should be available to download in about 10 days' time.
What's it called?
It's a good question, that. It's called West Link. These are some screenshots of how it will look on your phone. Just so you've got a bit of an idea. But I actually haven't got one showing the brand and the logo, sorry. We are still actually designing and implementing all the comms and the logos and the look and feel, so we can give the publicity out. We hope to have done that in the last few days.
You're going to let everyone know.
There'll be news releases, we've got comms people, there's going to be radio, adverts, all sorts of things will be going on to publicise this.
Face-to-face meetings
Yes,
like this as
we
well.
will have drop-in sessions as well.
What about residents that don't get out of their houses and things? Will they get a postal information?
Okay, so it's mainly now about how you get the information. That seems to be the question. We will use everything we can, and they will use everything they can to make sure that you're aware. What I would suggest, and if you can give me a date when that app's available, we will run a session here to help people use it right up front. So as soon as you can confirm an actual date, we'll set up a session, and anybody who wants to come here will run through it with you so that you can use an app, assuming you've got a smartphone. I mean, people who haven't got smartphones, they're going to have to use an ordinary phone and book it over the phone. But we can go through how to do that, and we'll run a session here to do it.
Publicise the phone number as well.
Sorry?
Publicise the phone number as well.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Bus stops.
Yes, there will be some information.
I can't walk that fast.
There will be some little information stickers going on every bus stop, which will have a QR code which you can photograph and it will bring you up the web page, etc. But it will also have phone numbers on as well. Obviously the vehicles will have the phone numbers, the websites. We'll be doing posters. We'll even be wrapping some of the major bus stops with the information. So when we say we're going to do everything, we are going to do everything, but you'll need to give us time to wind everything up over a few months as well.
Just to add as well, we are filming a how to use the app video as well, so that'll be released and put on the website.
Teresa?
Hi, I'm reasonably happy with what's been said. It's not a criticism, although I suppose it is. I would have thought your zones, your different zones, telling us you would have had some sort of printout so we can all look and see where the zones are, because the map up there, I'm partially sighted, okay, but I got no idea of where is what.
We will.
Yeah. If you come to a session here, we'll provide you with maps.
Will they be in the library?
Yeah, we can put them in the library.
Yes.
Online?
Yes.
Can't remember what it was.
The app itself turns into a big zoomable map. So when you log in, so when you actually log into an app, or if you are able to use a computer to book, etc., it will turn into a map that you move and scroll around, so you can see the boundaries, you can see zones, you can see all the stops. And when I say any stop, any historic bus stop we know of, we have basically turned on again, so you can use it. I believe there's around 900 bus stops in North Somerset alone that the service can be accessed from. And another point, for those that are not able to walk or have a disability, the service will actually go to your house. But you'll need to register for that service, so we can give you a discretionary pickup from the home, effectively, and back to. So it won't be everyone, it'll be those that need it.
Which is pretty amazing.
Hi, Caritas Charles. I'm a North Somerset councillor for Portishead East. Thank you for the information. You just answered one question on the communication. I just want to go to Steve Hogg's thing about ambassadorial roles. Steve, do you have an engagement plan worked out for this that will communicate the accessibility of this engagement role, this ambassadorial role, so that every citizen has a chance to actually be involved in this, and there will be a clear and transparent process for them to do that?
Yes.
Will they be able to take wheelchairs?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, I can elaborate a little bit, if I may.
The vehicles are designed to take at least one large wheelchair, and some vehicles, I think, two. Is that right in saying the coach builds?
I have to double check that. But
But certainly one as a minimum, and they're all accessible, yes.
I feel a bit guilty now, I should elaborate on the ambassadorial thing. So I think the thing that I'm really keen about Caritas is that we are drawing people from the community, that the whole purpose of having a bus champion is that it is people within the community who are, you know, passionate advocates of the bus service and will represent a group of residents most ably, much better than, say, I could, for example. So there are people here who are very close to bus services, have been passionate advocates for bus services for a number of years, who will be able to represent the views of a number of passengers and be able to advocate on their behalf. But the process itself will be open, and I think we're just drawing up the final sort of look at what that will be. There will be some online Zoom calls for everybody that's interested, Teams calls, and a lot of engagement over the next few weeks. It's all happening quite quickly, obviously, but the core principle is that the bus champions will be drawn from the communities in which they reside. That's the purpose.
Carl, could you answer that question?
I can, yes.
That's what I was just going to say. There's questions on there. I'll read it out.
I'll read it out.
I'm happy to read them and answer them if you want.
So, the first part of this message, I may have missed it, but what size are the buses?
16 seats.
Could you say the
16 seats.
Yeah.
And how are you able to employ so many drivers when First Bus are telling us they can't find drivers?
Good question, and I can answer that.
It's definitely a challenge, no one's going to deny that, but I do know that the chaps here have been working extremely hard to secure driver resource, and I understand you're a long way towards meeting the target number needed to launch. I also understand that actually the driver recruitment issue is starting to ease, so I have some other news in a minute for you as well about your bus services, which should be good news. First, I mean, Carol, you may wish to jump in if you can and tell us, but the Western Depot now actually has a surplus of drivers, such as the efforts that First have gone to actually get drivers and try and stabilise the business. I don't know about Stagecoach. Joe, do you want to give me a quick update on where Stagecoach are actually here?
Are we on? Yeah. So our recruitment's picked up a little bit now. We've still got a number of agency drivers in, but the recruitment's a lot better now. Success rate in the last 3 or 4 months. Things are looking a lot better on that front at the moment.
If I may, because I am...
That was a gentleman from Stagecoach, just to not confuse anybody, because there are 2 people that supply bus services in this area.
Soon to be 3.
3 now. Hang on, another question now. Or do you want to finish that?
I just like to segue into services and then I can answer as many questions as I can.
I'm just going to press on my agenda because, sorry, I do have to go home to look after some poorly children. But on the services update, this is very fresh news. We have tendered using BSIP money for some service enhancements. And the service enhancements are, in essence, we want to increase the frequency of some of our bus services because they're often overcrowded now. We know we need more frequent buses. And ultimately, once we put in the scheme of bus priority measures, we expect to have more frequent, faster buses. Oh, yeah. So the X4, which is the one that particularly affects yourselves on the X5, will go from roughly every 30 minutes to every 20 minutes from April. That means you're getting an extra bus an hour, which may not sound a lot, but it's significant. And the ambition, and this is an achievable ambition, is to get to every 15 minutes by the end of our 2-year build programme. At the moment, there is roughly an 18-minute delay in the buses, effectively in traffic, in the current service. If we eliminate all the pinch points, we can go to 15-minute service, clock face, roughly, in this area, which would be one of the best bus services in the area, bar only about 2. Sorry, not quite finished, sorry. I also want to say that the X5 will gain a Saturday service from April. From September, we will route it through Yatton. But we've got to do some improvement works to Yatton before we can reliably put the bus through there. As I said, the DRT launch is on the 3rd of April, not March, as I put in there, apologies. The interesting news is that with DRT, we are going to have to review the 57 because the DRT covers the entirety of the 57 service and it's a very low or used service. So I actually think you'd be better off having a DRT in the marina rather than the 57. That would allow us to look at rerouting the 59 to Cribs. Plausibly gives us a way to put service to Cribs, and I have been in contact with, or my colleagues been in contact with Stagecoach who run that service, and they're proactively working with us to see if that can be done as soon as possible.
That's quite good. Yeah, I was just doing one here.
Because Bobcar Road, be positive. Be positive.
Sorry, if you want to scroll up the questions, I can read them out and then respond. Will there be a facility to see once in the app if someone has already booked a journey at the time you want to go, so you can hop onto that trip? Well, the system's more dynamic than that. It does the algorithms in the background and it merges the journeys it thinks appropriate. So, in essence, the computer does that bit in the background. All you need to do is book your vehicle for when you want to get there and let the experts in the background have to work that out. Now, I know your point that might not be environmentally friendly, but in fairness, if the bus is carrying 6 or 7 people, that's 6 or 7 people not on the road throughout the duration of its trip. So there's many ways to look at it, and yes, I respect that. In an ideal world, we would have used electric minibuses, but it's pretty much an 18-month lead time, and we only have 24 months of funding to initially start this service. So we've gone with diesel because we have to get this service off the ground. Next question. How will the X5 going through Yatton impact on the times of arrival in Weston? Well, the point being, yes, it will add a small amount of time at the moment, but we are building a series, or planning to build a series of improvements, things like traffic lights that know when the bus is coming, etc. at Congsbury. So a series of measures that will make the journey quicker to compensate, and therefore the journey time won't be much different. And in fairness, there's demand on that route. No one's allowed to get on the bus on the M5, so it's kind of a waste of resources to send it that way. So we anticipate the journey time to be relatively similar in the end. Next question.
That's it.
Okay.
I'm just going to make a personal comment before I hand it on, and I think Charles wanted to make the same one. There are some people who are not happy with the suggestions for bus priority on the road into Bristol. You are going to get a fight on that because there is people thinking that way, that it's going to absolutely screw the Gordena roundabout. So
I'm not here to particularly talk about the scheme. There will be further comments on that.
Yeah. Well, I've already launched that with one of your people, and I'll certainly talk to Steve tomorrow about it. But there's quite a building.
There's been some statements made to.
I'm not particularly here to talk about this evening because it's my colleague in the engineering teams that are going to be doing the consultation and talk to people about detailed designs. We have concept designs at the moment, and we have some early schemes that are ready to go, because bear in mind we have 24 months to spend £48 million on bus infrastructure. That is a very short timescale. So we have accelerated a couple of early schemes, but the rest are not actually defined and fully consulted yet. Though that will happen as needed. But I've always been honest with people in this room, and I've said if you want fast, reliable, frequent buses, then the national strategy says you have to give them space on the road. So you cannot have a 15-minute service in this town that's financially sustainable unless the bus has some simple measures to make sure it can cut through the peak traffic. Now that does not mean that we're going to shove every motorist off the road It means we've got some quite sympathetic measures, things like intelligent traffic lights. There will be small amounts of bus priority lanes that will be needed to cut through traffic, but those details will be consulted. But at the moment, they're not all ready to be. So this is not the meeting to have that discussion. I'm here to talk about services. Yes, the X5 still goes through Clevedon. Instead of going down the motorway of Clevedon, it will go through Yatton, Conisbury and into the Wirral interchange.
I'm quite happy to pick up just on the bus prioritisation, because obviously it's an integral part of BSIP, and it's a condition of the funding that we receive from DFT that we provide an unfettered access for bus services. You can't have a more reliable bus service if it's going to be stuck in traffic, and I think this has historically been the issue. I mean, it's worth reminding everybody that, you know, the national picture in terms of carbon emissions, if we just choose to look through the environmental lens just very briefly, I think nationally something like 25% of our carbon emissions on a national level are from traffic. But here in North Somerset, it's about 40%. So we clearly got a more transformational step to take with public transport than other parts of the country do. And in a sense, you can't sort of have your cake and eat it. You can't, on the one hand, make the passage much easier and much freer for buses to get through, to provide reliability and frequency and capacity that everybody says they want, and at the same time have the same number of cars travelling the same direction at the same time with just one person in it. Now, you know, the area sort of topographically is closer to me is the A370 and the Long Ashton bypass. That's probably closer where the residents in my ward in Rington would travel. And you know, I know that road really, really well, and there's a 2+ lane there, a high occupancy vehicle lane that's just not fit for purpose. There are vanishingly small numbers of cars in that lane on a regular basis, I can tell you from personal experience, compared with the traffic that sits in the inside lane, because there's usually just one person. You know, we like to travel to work on our own. And if we can put one extra bus on the road per hour, that's 90 people on a bus who are not in a car. So 90 cars an hour is quite a lot. And you know, this is an ambitious scheme. This is not teasing at the edges. This is not trying to make a, what is the analogy, a pig's ear out of whatever it is, a silk purse. But this is transformational. I am confident that a year from now, we will have a much more fit for purpose, future-proof public transport network in this part of our country, and we should all be really, really proud and excited about that. Now, I know there's a growing campaign around the A370 and the A369. It is not something that is just a fait accompli. There are detailed design work that's currently underway because we're in that stage of the game. We've only got 2 years to spend the money, so we're trying to work at pace. That doesn't mean we're going to be cloth-eared to residents' concerns, and there will be opportunity for the council to listen. And we have already listened. There was public engagement on this back in September, October. We had over 100 responses from community groups and from residents, broadly supportive, and we took on board that feedback. There has been all member briefings on it. It's been to full council, so all of your democratic representatives have all had ample opportunity to listen to what the plans are and engage in helping to shape those. It's been through scrutiny, formal scrutiny within the council. It's been through the executive, and it's been voted through and effectively been voted in favour of. In addition to that, I'm always really happy to engage with ward members who have specific concerns about areas of these plans that affect their ward. In fact, we've had those conversations in places like Conisbury, with Yatton Parish Council. They had some concerns around the small way improvements, so we were able to have an informal meeting with them. I think Long Ashton Parish Council have had informal meetings with us. So we're not cloth-eared to it. It's too easy to read in the newspaper that, you know, council's not listening and it's all a done deal. It's not true. We are listening, but you can't have your cake and eat it. But it doesn't mean that we're not going to engage with the public going forward. But the road prioritisation is such a crucial part of the BSIP package, and as Carl rightly says, it's part of the National Bus Strategy 2021, is that we are mandated to provide that access, and it's a reciprocal arrangement with commercial bus companies like First. Why would they put additional capacity? why would they throw more bus drivers and more buses on roads where their drivers are going to be stuck? And why would any of you want to get on a bus if it's not going to be reliable? So it's a virtuous circle. That's the ambition.
Can you read that, Steve, or not from there? I can't see
Can
the
you
top
read
of
that?
That's not true. I can read that. Space. Well, you can read that.
There's
Yeah.
4 messages.
So space on the road only works if this is for the entire journey. The plans for 2+ lane at Gordona roundabout will actually slow buses down coming through Pill as they will be stuck. This isn't true. We have technology going in the traffic lights that will wave the bus and the traffic in front of the bus through. The same technology will be on the other lights as you approach the motorways. So the bus effectively will be waved through the traffic, and the traffic, in essence, if it's in front of the bus, goes through with it. So in actual fact, it's a chance to rearrange the traffic lights around Portbury Junction, etc., to make the situation better. There is and what we're trying to do is get the bus to the front of the queue. And the reason this is important is, as a demonstration here, this is a real demonstration. The X4 is delayed by 18 minutes in the peak, so in rush hour. That adds 2 vehicles at circa $500,000 plus to the cost of running that service every year. We take those delays away, you get a 15-minute bus service. Because under this agreement, if we invest in road priority measures to get the bus through, that resource isn't taken away by the shareholders and pocketed. They will commit to a higher frequency service. And the X4 service is overloaded. So this is very necessary. There are people that are not able to get on the bus because it's full. That is the truth of the X4 and the X1. So this is not just some sort of selfish priority. This is needed.
I'll just go back and then you can go, because I know how long you'll be on.
Dedication.
Thank you. I wasn't going to actually raise that. I was going to raise another thing, but I will come on with the bus priority stuff. Wider public engagement. I'm not going to have an extended conversation with Steve about this. The one I'm aware of was an email that was sent in September to people, structured as bus service improvement planning or something, which was only sent to town councils, ward councillors, and I thought was an initial stage of a group of consultations. But I'm not going to go into the detail of that. But what I would like Steve to reiterate, and I'm actually really pleased by what he said, that it is not a fait accompli, is that he will make a commitment. Cut off. Will he make a commitment then, like he's just said, to involve the public, and I mean the wider public, in the decision making with regards to the BSIP money and to contribute, and that they will listen to that. Steve's told me at council that it's very difficult, but I googled some of the other authorities that have actually received BSIP money. Tyne and Weir ran something called the Big Bus Conversation that took place and was quite an extensive community-based consultation exercise. Kent ran something. I believe Derby ran wide public consultation as well. And with regards to bus lanes, our neighbours in Somerset have been doing quite an extensive consultation. So can I have a commitment from Steve, if possible, that that level of high consultation will be maintained, that they will listen to public concerns, not just from bus users, but also from drivers, and that there will be a chance, if there is massive public concern, to listen to that and feed back to that, but also to inform the public. Some of the things Carl talked about tonight, I think some of the public have only just been heard. Where will the communication come for this? Because otherwise you're going to have your emails swamped again, Steve, and I just want to make sure that the communication is there. Thank you.
I got that answer.
Yeah, that's right. There's 3 on here.
Okay, so yes, so I mean, a lot of the emails that I've received are telling me that it's absolutely insane to do a bus prioritisation scheme. So a lot of the emails are not about lack of engagement, it's basically saying don't do it because it's crazy. But of course, I would differ. My opinion is different from that. I think it's an essential part, an integral part of the bus service improvement plan. On consultation, I think consultation takes many forms. At the moment, we have been through, I mean, you said it was just a casual email that went out. There were 100 stakeholder groups that responded, and there have been, no, but hang on the bus prioritisation, we are in a delivery phase for that, and it's a big engineering endeavour, and we have to spend the money within the next 2 years. We're not going to be reopening the design, it's not going to be open season in that sense. We have to get on and deliver it. But that doesn't mean we're not listening to the specific concerns that some stakeholders will have. On the wider piece about consultation, you're quite right. Some of the stuff that you're hearing from Carl, you're hearing for the first time, and that's to a large extent is back to the original piece that I spoke about earlier, where we've been upskilling and we've been recruiting both drivers externally and internally, comms team, and standing this communication package up from the ground, really. So yes, it is very late. It's much later than I would like to be coming out to the community, but over the next 2 or 3 weeks we're going to be looking at lots and lots of engagement, lots of face-to-face engagement, and then those relationships with those key individuals, the bus champions, going forward will ensure that we've got that voice on the ground, that ear to the ground, all the way through with DRT.
How are you going to find these people?
Well, some of them I think are fairly obvious, but I think we will have a call. We will invite people onto a call, and we will give people the opportunity to apply for those roles. It's not a formal role; it's an informal role. There are some obvious people, without wishing to embarrass anybody that's here. There are some people that it feels obvious to me we should at least give that opportunity to, who are perhaps more outspoken and more obviously passionate about it. I think would make good reps, but it's open to anybody to come and join the party, and I think there's no upper limit on how many people that we're going to ask to do it. Come on, Caritas.
I just ask who will select.
Well, I think that I'd like the community to select, but I don't think we're going to have a voting booth for but I think it should be obvious. I think what I want to do, I don't want to dictate how people are selected. What I'd like to do is say to you as a community, bring somebody to the table, and who would you want your person to be? Who is the person who's going to best represent the wishes and the views and the user experience, if you like, for the community at Portishead? I've got a good idea who that person is, but your idea might, you might be thinking of somebody else. But anybody can come to me and say that they want to get involved with it. I would love to get emails like that. I would love to get emails that come to me to say, but how can I get involved? What can I do? Rather than emails that tell me that everything we're doing is completely insane and won't work.
So do we know your email address?
You can just Google it, you'll find it.
Or go to the library.
Okay.
There's some questions on that that I think we'll be able to answer.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, Paddy.
You guys,
I just want to say that the chaps at DRT are very busy and works all day. Are there any questions on DRT before they go? Because I do want that to go. Go on then, quick.
Just like to say, absolutely ecstatic about obviously the cribs that run again, and I'm sure everyone in this room and online. Even if it's a trial, it's something. With the DRT service, obviously, I understand it's running for 3 years, isn't it?
we have funding for 2 years.
For 2 years, yeah.
The ambition is to make it sustainable.
We're funding for 2 years initially. The idea is to get it to a point where it's a sustainable, supportable service. So the more people use it, the more it will stay.
Yeah, it's probably best to be just standing next to each other. Obviously, if the point is, obviously, if people can advance that booking, that helps, obviously, you at the end of the day, and over the time, it will give you a lot of information.
Yes.
So, obviously, you can redirect buses or put buses on a better area.
If we see a massive demand in a particular area, it might mean we can readjust our existing services, which is the ambition, or maybe even new services. So we do want people to use these things so we can pick up the trends. And the other option is we could increase the size of the buses even. So it's not illegal now, we can go up to sort of 25, 30 seats in some cases. That has been done across the country. Next.
Sorry, there was just one more question. And Caritas has brought it up, and it's the same with me. Obviously, you know all about the 56 group. I mean, we're more than happy to help out, and I think we need to make sure this is advertised as much as possible, even if it's getting short videos of people enjoying themselves on the DRT.
Yeah. I have responded to the leader of the All Aboard 56. I am delayed getting a comms pack which tells you all these things, the maps, the information. That will be passed to anyone that's interested and any community champion groups. That the information is coming to help you promote this, and we do very much appreciate your help in doing that. You would not believe the amount of emails and work behind the scenes going on, and at the moment I'm doing the job of 3 people, so I am sorry, but I can't do everything. But we are doing our best. I have comms people, one of which is on the call tonight. We have people ready to promote and help get people on these buses so that they stay. That is the ambition.
Could you answer the online?
Yes, on my questions. Do you want to scroll through to the top of them? Is that the next one? Will the new minibus go up the motorway, or will they go through Yatton, I think that's Manchester, etc.? They'll go where they need to go as quick as they need to go, is the answer. There's no fixed route. So if going up the motorway is the right thing to do for that particular journey, that's what it'll do. There's a huge assumption that everyone drives can will use buses. One extra bus does not automatically equal 90 cars off the road. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, yes and no. At the peak, we've got full buses, so actually we do have evidence that we have full buses that need to get through the traffic. So, and that data is being shared with us from the bus companies under the enhanced partnership, so they're legally obliged to give us certain data as we are today, and that is how we will make discussions happen with the public over need.
Can I just build on that? Just very
briefly, because again, one of the complexions of these conversations sometimes on the internet and on social media is that you're either in one camp, i.e. you're a bus user, or you're in the other camp and you're a motorist, and never the twain shall meet. But we're all somewhere on that spectrum, aren't we? I mean, I drive a car. I would love some more options and some more opportunities for using the bus, and I think what this is going to do is going to present everybody in North Somerset with some realistic alternatives to getting the car out of the garage for the first time. Don't forget just how difficult it's becoming to drive your car to Bristol with a clean air zone and more punitive measures perhaps coming down the track at some point in the future, who knows. So we can't do nothing. Doing nothing is not an option. And so just to that question, that person who was saying not everybody can use a bus, I think we can have a number of options, a number of choices.
There's a point about cars being stuck in traffic in Pill. So, yeah, okay, you are stuck in a queue, but the GPS on the ticket machine in the bus will tell us the bus is stuck in a queue. It will talk to the traffic light and clear it down. That's the point. It's going to be intelligent going forward, not just a closed induction loop guessing who's in a queue. So we're actually going to apply the right technology to get everybody moving here, not just a bus stuck in a queue. If you're in front of that bus in the queue, you're going to go with the bus through that queue. So there are benefits to this that may not immediately be obvious.
We're just going to check out now, but we do want to be here for the teaching tech session, so if you can let us know, we'll come along and help out on that.
Well, I mean, that's going to be totally down to you making the app available. Okay, so as I say, we will definitely guarantee that we will do some training, we get these guys involved. So, I mean, they've all got my email, so you can get in touch with me and we'll set a session up.
Yep, we'll come along.
Thanks for coming.
One more question.
If I could, yeah, but there's just of them.
Yes.
Yeah,
a lot of people need to go because they got other commitments.
Do you have to get off your bus at the bus stop, or can you stop the driver wherever you want to get off?
No, you can't just stop the driver, but you book to exactly where you want to go. So if you do
So it's got to be a bus stop, so you
no,
need to get off.
yeah, but there'll be some actual bus stops, but there'll be some virtual bus stops.
You'll be able to pick a suitable place to disembark when you book your journey. We'll go through that when we do the tech section.
But yeah, you decide before, and that's the journey, and then you can do that journey, but you can't stop the driver.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I just want to give the chap here a chance because he's also got to go. I just asked him the question about the Cribs bus, which everybody got excited about. Is it so it's going to start off with 90 minute, just to every hour and a half? Okay, that's about where they are, but it is hour and a half, but at least it's a service, so at least you can schedule.
I could answer that actually. Yeah.
The reason we're looking at a 90-minute service is that's broadly how long it takes to get a bus from Clevedon to Portishead to Cribs with a bit of time for traffic, etc. and layover, and then bring it back without having to add another bus to the cycle. So every bus you add, 300 grand or so, maybe 150 in some cases. That's why it has to be hour and a half, because that's basically all we can afford at the moment.
Got to do one bus service.
It'll be a one bus service going up and down. And actually, if you're going to Cribs, are you really only going for 30 minutes, or are you more likely to be there for an hour and a half, 3 hours? So I would hope that's a suitable service, but your feedback is most welcome. I don't know yet. The latest I would hope to do a change would be September. However, when I've got some work out of the way next week to get the DRT launched, we might be able to do a short notice change, so I might be able to do it sooner, but I can't promise that just yet. I also need to ask permission of Stagecoach.
Carl, would be handy to bring that in after the webinar.
People online, when you heard, I don't know. They didn't
I did want to just talk about that. Sorry. And I really have to go. Sorry.
I'm trying to get I know. So just a little bit of thing we want to invest in here. We want to try and introduce digital e-ink, like a Kindle, timetables at the roadside for some of our stops. So that's actually a unit in use in Thornbury at the moment, that sort of 3-pillar thing there. So that's something I want to perhaps try and get some relevant views on, see if it's accessible and if you can read it. And the other thing I'm looking at is this LED flag. It's quite a big bit of kit actually. It looks small there, but it really isn't. That's a digital flag that's very prominent. So the flag itself is real time, and it can also do wayfinding and information like the stop is closed, your next nearest stop, etc. So that's something else I'm looking at introducing at key stops and well-used stops across the district as part of the BSIP package. So it's really lifting the game on the information. And another thing we're trying to do is actually get the RTI working so we get rid of this ghost bus issue. So we're actually, there's a member of staff going to be employed to more closely monitor and manage the RTI information, which should fix a lot of the problems with the RTI issues that you've been experiencing.
Right. Yeah, I was just going to mention that. I mean, all this technology is great, but the information's still got to be right.
Yeah.
Clearly, at the moment, it isn't. I mean,
it's better.
We can walk to the top of our road and it says bus due in 5 minutes, 3 minutes, and then it disappears off the screen, and then 20 minutes later it turns up. I mean, it's just not, people just don't know.
We know.
So I think that's a key thing. I think the other thing that I would ask, perhaps of Steve, is when the Gordano junction was traffic light, because if only of you are old enough, I certainly am, it didn't have traffic lights originally. When they put the traffic lights on, they modelled it, and they made a complete and utter, you know what of it. They've played with it, I would say twice a year, something like, to try and adjust it. Can we actually get a guarantee that if the bus work that's set up doesn't actually work, you'll recognise it and get it right if you can? Because if you don't react to what actually happens, then it's just going to become a nightmare.
We are actively trying to recruit an expert in traffic light management and highways electrical. So we're a bit for the council, and they will obviously work with Highways England, who control the
Highways England.
So it's a known problem. It's something we have to fix, not just for motorists but for buses. So yes, we're aware of it, but we take feedback on it. But we are going to put a lot of intelligent traffic light systems across the district.
The only thing I'd really add is that I think BSIP is very much outcomes driven. For the first time, it's not a sort of sticking plaster on a bus service. We've got some very clear objectives around what good looks like, and the last thing we want to do is the law of unintended consequences, creating issues. So for example, you know, some of the concerns that people have been sharing around the A369 prioritisation, A370 prioritisation, you know, if that ended up being true and everybody was sat in gridlock for, you know, clearly it would have failed miserably, wouldn't it? And it would be pretty crazy to sort of continue on with a policy if it wasn't working. So it's very much about outcomes, and we think we know what success looks like and what we need to do to create that that new sort of environment of usher in this new age of public transport. And if it doesn't work, clearly we'll need to be quite hot on making changes where we need to.
Okay, I'll make sure I do.
Just say, I'm sorry folks, but I do have to go now.
Much different response than I got 2 years ago.
Well, we all love you now. You came and you mentioned Cribs Causeway. That's all you needed to do. Are there other questions that people want to ask? I recognise that the panel's disappearing, but is there other things that people want to make a comment on?
Can I just ask? I accept it. Am I working? I accept, this is for the stagecoach gentleman. I accept the 57 is non-profitable. I understand that completely, I understand why it has to go, unfortunately. Will it not go until this new system is up and running?
Oh, there's no plans at the moment to take it off.
There's no plans at the moment to take it off? Right.
I mean, it will come off, but there's nothing immediate. There's no date set or nothing yet. So no, you won't be left without.
I've been trying to get people, use the bus, use it or lose it, so you know.
Yeah.
But sometimes we're the only people on there. We're like a taxi service to go to Sainsbury's, but we won't take it off, and we will get notice. We will know when it's coming on as well, because that's the other thing. We didn't know when the X3 was coming off the route.
Right.
The X3 used to come around Marina, and all of a sudden it didn't come.
No, you'll continue to get this until it's finalised about the new Cribs Causeway service.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So no, you won't be left stranded.
Just repeat that statement.
Which one's that?
The one you won't be stranded.
You won't be left stranded. No.
Sorry, Steve. Just a question, obviously. I went to the Wecker bus stop meeting. Some interesting points there. I'm not sure about solar-powered bus stops or grass roof tops or CCTV or even Wi-Fi, because it's a bit confusing Wi-Fi because most people have got Wi-Fi anyway. And obviously I did hear at the time that they were definitely going to kick someone's arse up and put them on that machine to make sure that our LED information boards are actually working. One of the questions that a few of us asked on that day was about the uniforming of bus stops, because at the moment we've probably got only using half the bus stops in the town, and a lot of them are in an absolute mess. I mean, obviously with the DRT coming, it would be good to have them all singing and dancing at the same.
Yeah, and I think the part of BSIP, we haven't really talked about the investment in the other stuff. So we've got 3 new interchanges going in. We've got 300 new bus stops that are being set up. I think they are actually going to be. I think there will be some which will have the bee habitats on the roof, which I think that's something that's been trialled elsewhere and seems to be successful. But no, you're quite right. I think we're revisiting the whole estate of bus stops. That's one of James Padgett is one of our lead engineers. That was the first job he did actually when he was on BSIP, was looking through all of the bus stops actually to see if they're in the right location, because of course there are some algorithms around how far you should be from a bus stop.
Isn't it? The next one will be on the 6th of June.
Yay.
So everybody...
Who's going to run it?
Well, I'm sure we'll find somebody fairly close to you might run it, you never know. Okay, I think if there's no, I mean obviously the people that came have answered as many questions as they can. We do guarantee, or I will personally guarantee, that we will do training in here for using the app, because I think that's a key thing. It is, because I'll have to do it for my wife, so I know it's got to be done. If there's no more questions, then we'll call a halt to it, if that's okay. Okay, thank you very much.